Hello everybody, I'm in the early paintings picture gallery at the Bowes Museum. 2 weeks ago I was talking to you about 19th century paintings. Last week I was talking about paintings in the 18th century picture gallery. Today I'm here with a friend and colleague, Rupert McBain, who's conserved this altarpiece, and he's going to tell you a little bit about it. Rupert has given an initial description of this altarpiece, and the reason I wanted Rupert to be here today is because he conserved the woodwork that we're about to open, and I want him to talk to you about what he did over the last couple of years to make it one of the most important items in the collection.
Thanks, Adrian. This is the Bowes Altarpiece, bought by Bowes in 1860 in Paris. It's part of a group of altarpieces made in the southern Netherlands in the late 15th and early 16th century. These were produced in a very structured way, within a very structured guild system, and they were an internationally traded commodity. The altarpiece is made up of various components, and the most striking, perhaps, are these oil-on panel paintings. They were executed by the rather nattily named the Master of the View of St. Gudule, and they were conserved by John Old at the Bowes Museum. Adrian and I are now going to open it up, and we will see the other components of the altarpiece. So now we've got the doors open, we can see the other elements. The most striking is these massive wooden oak sculptures depicting the Passion of Christ. The columns seeing the flagellation, crucifixion, deposition, and entombment. These were produced by the Brussels Guild of Carvers, and their mallet mark is indented on the back. The influence of the Bormann dynasty, Jan Bormann joined the guild in about 1479, just prior to these carvings being done. Secondly, you've got the architectural elements, the canopies, which are extraordinary. The crocketed spires, the tracery, they're remarkably executed, and I don't quite know how they've been done so beautifully, because I would imagine that it was a very efficient and cost-effective system, and they are beautifully executed. The final part is the casework, the inverted T case, and the interior. objects that are original are the sculptures, the oak canopies, and obviously the paintings. Everything else is not original and is part of the redisplay. My brief was firstly to conserve, then to redisplay. The conservation of the sculptures, actually quite straightforward. They're big blocks of oak, and because they've been well prepared and hollowed out at the back, they haven't cracked excessively. But conservation of these big blocks is essentially making sure they're not falling apart to do any damage. Second aspect, the canopies. Again, although much more delicate, that was carefully, well recorded gluing up of loose bits. So that was the conservation. We then had a decision to make as to how to display the objects, whether to display them as individual objects, well lit, well displayed, or to put them within a context. It is important to say that all the altarpieces I've looked at were polychromed. All the sculptures were polychromed, and when I went to Gudule to look at the St. Dymphna altar, which is the stylistically closest to this, you came away with this feeling of very intense, crowded, coloured, architectural spaces, each scene set within a chapel, designated by tracery and carving. We thought a lot about how to display it, and in the end we decided to construct this frame in this case and set it within context. The carved and gilded columns, the objective of those is to divide up the scenes and try and intimate this idea of the distinct scenes within, like, chapel spaces. It is important to say that all the new elements in no way interfere with the original material, and it's all very carefully recorded as to what is new and what is old. So, Adrian, why an altarpiece? Well, firstly, this phenomenally intense and colourful backdrop would have been perfect for when the Eucharist was raised by the priest at the point of consecration, so it formed a backdrop to that. Secondly, all altars, it was stipulated that their dedication should be marked by either an inscription, a painting, or a sculpture. These fit the bill. They were also imparting knowledge. You had an illiterate congregation, so this was imparting the passion of Christ and inspiring them to devotion. Also, the religious calendar, you could change the appearance and the saints on view by closing the doors depending on what time of year it was. And finally, possibly most important, it glorified the patron. Without, without the patron, it's not going to happen. But equally, the artisans, and in the Netherlands at this time, possibly due to a decline in the demand for cloth, you had a pool of artisans who were pulled into the guild system. The carving, the painting, the sculpture. So you had both the patron and the artisans to produce what is a phenomenal object.
I'm used to altarpieces just being a selection of paintings in a particular order. Is this sort of woodwork common?
Yeah, it's actually very standardised, this depiction of the Passion scenes. But some altars do show specific saints, but this is quite common, and you see it reproduced in a lot of altar pieces that I have looked at when researching this.